Shri Shri Ras Viharini Ju Ki Jai Ho, Sabhi Vaishnavan Ko Sadar Saprem Sadenya Sananda Jai Shri Krishna. Vraja Kishori Seva Trust continues the readings of Shri Hariraji Bade Shiksha Patr. We are on day 49. It is letter 18, verses 3 to 7. Sri Acharyaji advises in his Navaratna, the Nine Jewels treatise, that a devotee should never be anxious about anything. In his commentary, Sri Gosaiji reiterates this by stating that a true devotee should never be worried about the world, nor even how to attain the Lord, and this is the Lord's own promise, and therefore worthy of contemplation. This Navaratna treatise states that this applies equally to those who surrender to the Lord with or without understanding. Within the recognition that no specific practice can be seen as a tool to persuade the Lord, then what could be the fruit of knowledge? Note to verse 3. It is stated in the Navaratna, Nine Jewels treatise, that those who surrender, whether they do it with or without knowledge, understanding, need never have any spiritual anxiety. Both are given equal status. The fruit for those who surrender knowledgeably is discussed in the next verse. Tika. Sri Acharyaji has taught in his Navaratna, Nine Jewels treatise, that one should never allow anxiety to fill the mind. Surrendered souls should never worry, for their Lord is full of grace and will give them a mundane never give them a mundane life. Such statements should be ruminated upon. Do not think that you are too foolish to receive such grace. Know that the Lord considers foolish and knowledgeable devotees as equals. Again, the statement of the Nine Jewels is never to worry whether you have surrendered with or without the knowledge of why and how. You may have surrendered through knowledge gained by direct teachings or simply by emulating others. Either way, you need have no anxiety. The nature of fire is to burn the hand that holds it, whether it is held purposely or by accident. If material fire has such power, then what to speak of surrender to the Lord made through the auspices of Sri Acharyaji? How can a surrendered soul's destiny ever be mundane? In the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated, the name of the Lord is such that, whether uttered through ignorance or with knowledge, it will burn away your sins just as fire burns wood. Therefore, keep this understanding in your heart and renounce all anxiety. Focus your heart exclusively in surrender to the Lord. If an embodied soul's compromised understanding begets worry about its lack of spiritual practices, then what can result from knowledge? Never worry. If you consider yourself devoid of means to reach your Lord, then just remember that when Sri Acharyaji accepts you, your surrender to the Lord is perfected. The next verse will discuss those knowledgeable devotees who experience the pain of separation from him. Continuing with verses 4 and 5. The clever devotees see a complete lack of bliss in anything unrelated to the Lord's pastimes, and so they experience grief everywhere else. From this separation ensues the realization of the Lord's presence. So forget mundane involvements and establish Sri Krishna in your heart. Very significant verse. Tika. When Sri Acharyaji grants an embodied soul the experience of separation from the Lord, then that grief enters the heart. Grief appears everywhere and the soul cannot connect with Sri Hari, who is the remover of all sorrow. In this state, the only thing which is pleasing in any way at all is one's relationship to Sri Krishna. Every other moment only brings sadness. This fire of separation in the heart is the ultimate fruit of the path of grace. The realm of those mundane souls who have no connection to the Lord's pastimes is completely devoid of bliss, for he never gives them a glimpse of it. These souls wander around in the material world, regarding it as the fruit of their lives, and so never connect with the Lord's pastimes and never feel bliss. The divinely oriented souls connected to the Lord's pastimes take shelter in Sri Acharyaji's feet and keep pure company. If their mundane involvement does not disappear immediately, then it does so gradually as they ponder on the Lord in their minds and hearts with the mood of service to him. They realize that they had forgotten the Lord and that their path is to serve and remember him always. Divine souls have this knowledge, but demonic souls do not. Verse 6. Establish in your heart this Sri Krishna, who is very discreet, full of bliss, always engaged in pastimes, full of nectar, non-different from his bliss-filled name, and who responds to his devotees' love. Tika 6. So, what is Sri Krishna like? He is very discreet. Even the Vedas cannot fathom his essence and can only state what he is not. He is concealed even from the most intelligent. His form is replete with pure bliss. From just one single drop of it, the whole world can be filled with bliss. In his treatise, Sri Krishna Shri Refuge in Sri Krishna, Sri Acharyaji has stated, all the gods are material, even formless. Brahman's bliss is qualified. Sri Krishna alone is replete with perfect joy. He alone is my refuge. The demigod's bliss is also changeable, as are also other so-called forms of bliss, apart from Sri Krishna, who is bliss personified and whose bliss is fathomless and constant. Sri Krishna always grants this bliss to the Vraja devotees by his loving pastimes, for example, withholding his presence in order to increase the bliss, removing the gopis' pride, who then became humble, and thus made him reappear. In the Gita Govinda we find this prayer, please place your lotus feet on my head. Your feet are my head's finest ornament. Thus, in this humble attitude, the gopis entreat him in many ways. The Lord is filled with the gopis' love, and they experience his loving nectar through their constant loving sentiment towards him. Verse 7. Establish this Sri Krishna in your heart, who appears most beauteous as he sits in his motherly Yashoda's lap, whose form as an innocent infant is very attractive, who is the enemy of mundane involvement, and who destroys from the root worldly obstructions to his service. Tika. So what is Sri Krishna like? It is a marvellously beautiful scene when his mother Yashoda sits him in her lap to feed him. He wraps himself round her neck like an innocent infant. He is opposed to an embodied soul's mundane involvement with those with whom their relationship is no deeper than a temporary or physical one. Deha Sambandhi. For example, their husband, children, wife, home, and social and religious rituals. Once when the milk she was cooking began to boil over, Sri Yashodaji took her son off her lap and put him on the ground in order to attend to the milk. Sri Krishna, who loves milk, could not tolerate this, so he smashed the pots containing yogurt and fed any butter he found to the monkeys. His message was, do not neglect me to do your household duties, or I will make sure they, as well as your social and religious activities, are never perfected. The devotees who take firm refuge in Sri Krishna have their worldly involvements destroyed. This is because such involvements and attachment to them are a great obstruction to their devotional mood. So the Lord himself will remove mundane attitude and attachment, lust, anger, greed, jealousy, egotism, possessiveness, and worldly illusion from those souls who are sincerely and fully devoted from him. Lust, attachment. He will remove mundane attitude and attachment, lust, anger, greed, jealousy, egotism, possessiveness, and worldly illusion from those souls who are sincerely and fully devoted to him. We'll pause the reading here today, continuing tomorrow from verse 8 onwards. Jai Shri Radhe, Sab Vaishnavan ko Jai Shri Krishna, Aaj ke Anand ki Jai. Jai Jai Shri Vallabh, Jai Jai Shri Gosai Ji, Jai Jai Shri Hari Rai Ji, Jai Jai Shri Gopeshwar Ji, who have given us the Shiksha Patr to give us the most super and secret knowledge. Jai Ho Ji, Aaj ke Anand ki Jai.